Welcome. This video will explore the world of search engine optimization testing, also known as SEO testing. More specifically, we're diving into A/B testing strategies. The goal? To boost your search engine performance. We'll go through the process of analyzing, testing, and optimizing your website for better SEO. So, what exactly is A/B testing for SEO? Well, it is the process of comparing two versions of a web page to see which one performs better in search rankings and brings in more organic traffic. Think of it like this: you have version A, which is your original web page with the SEO elements you already have in place. Then you create version B, a modified page where you tweak some of those SEO elements. The aim is to measure and compare how each version performs in search results, so you can identify the variation that will give you the best results. Why should you bother with A/B testing for SEO? There are several compelling reasons. First, it allows for data-driven decisions. Instead of just guessing what might work, you get concrete evidence about which SEO strategies actually improve search performance. Secondly, you can achieve improved rankings. Testing helps you systematically find and implement changes that positively impact your search visibility. Thirdly, A/B testing provides risk mitigation. You can test changes on a smaller scale before applying them to your entire website, which helps avoid potentially negative impacts. And fourthly, it offers return on investment optimization. By focusing your efforts on SEO tactics that have proven effective, you maximize the return on your optimization work. Now, what elements can you actually test when it comes to SEO? The possibilities are vast. You can test on page elements, like title tags, meta descriptions, heading structures, and even the length and formatting of your content. You can also test technical elements, such as page load speed, mobile responsiveness, schema markup, and URL structure. Also, content strategy aspects are testable, for example, different keyword targeting approaches, content formats such as lists versus guides, and the inclusion of different media like images and videos. Also consider testing your link building strategies with things like anchor text variations, link placement strategies, and guest posting approaches. You could also test user experience, like navigation structures and call to action placements. Finally, you can test site architecture, including category structures, taxonomy organization, and breadcrumb implementations. Let's explore some different A/B testing methods you can use for SEO. First, we have split testing. This involves testing two different versions of the same page by creating a duplicate with variations. To do this, you'll create two versions of the same page, each with a different URL. Implement variations in your SEO elements and monitor the performance metrics for both pages. The good thing about split testing is that it provides a clear comparison, and it's relatively easy to implement. However, keep in mind that it carries the risk of duplicate content and can split your link equity. Next, there is time split testing. This involves testing variations on the same URL by implementing changes for a specific time period. First, you'll collect baseline performance data. Then, you'll implement changes for a set time period, and finally, you'll compare the performance before and after the changes. Time split testing avoids the duplicate content issue and preserves link equity. But seasonal factors can influence the results, and it generally requires a longer testing period. Let's discuss more A/B testing methods. First, URL parameter testing. This involves using URL parameters to serve different versions of a page while maintaining the same base URL. First, you'll create variations using URL parameters. Then, use canonical tags to point to the main URL and track performance by parameter segments. URL parameter testing helps maintain link equity and is easy to implement. The downside is that it requires the use of canonical tags and can potentially lead to crawling issues. Then there is section testing, which tests variations on different sections of your website rather than individual pages. First, you'll identify comparable website sections. Then, you'll apply different SEO strategies to each section and compare their performance metrics. Section testing provides a larger sample size and allows you to test site-wide changes. Keep in mind that it can be affected by differences between sections and can be complex to implement. How do you actually set up an SEO A/B test? Here is the process. First, define your hypothesis. Clearly state what you're testing and what outcome you expect. Make sure to be specific about the change you're making and define the expected impact. Secondly, select a test method. Choose the most appropriate testing approach for your situation. Consider split testing versus time-split testing. Thirdly, establish metrics. Determine which key performance indicators or KPIs will measure success. These might include rankings, traffic, click-through rate, conversions, and bounce rate. Fourth, create variations. Implement your test variations with clear differences. Remember to change only one element at a time and document all changes. Fifth, set up tracking. Configure your analytics to monitor test performance. Use segments in Google Analytics and check data in Search Console. And finally, run the test. Allow sufficient time for search engines to process the changes. Aim for a minimum of 4 to 8 weeks and avoid running tests during major algorithm updates. Once your test is running, how do you measure the results? A few important metrics should be on your radar. First, you should monitor organic traffic. Track changes in overall organic search visitors and page-specific traffic. Tools to measure this include Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, and Matimo. Secondly, look at search rankings. Track position changes for your target keywords. You can use tools like Google Search Console, Ahrefs, and SEMrush. Thirdly, check your click-through rate or CTR. Compare the click-through rate between variations to see what drives more clicks from search results. Here you can use Google Search Console and Bing Webmaster Tools. And finally, you can track conversion metrics. Evaluate which variation leads to more conversions, revenue, or other business goals. For this, you can use Google Analytics, customer relationship management systems, or e-commerce platforms. Once you've gathered data, it's time to analyze the test results. First, collect sufficient data. Ensure you have enough data points over a sufficient time period, which is a minimum of 4 to 8 weeks to account for search volatility. Second, compare key metrics. Analyze the differences in rankings, traffic, click-through rate, and conversions between your test variations. Third, check for statistical significance. Determine if the differences between variations are statistically significant or just random fluctuations. And fourth, document your findings. Record all results, insights, and learnings, even if the test didn't produce the expected outcome. SEO testing isn't without its challenges. One common issue is long testing periods. SEO tests require significant time to run as search engines need to crawl, index, and process changes before results become apparent. The solution is to plan for minimum test periods of 4 to 8 weeks and run multiple tests in parallel on different sections of your site. Another challenge is algorithm updates. Search algorithm changes during testing periods can skew results and make it difficult to attribute performance changes to your test. To solve this, monitor industry news for updates and document any algorithm changes during your test period for context. Also, isolating variables can be challenging. Multiple factors affect search rankings, making it challenging to isolate the impact of a single change in your test. A good approach is to test one variable at a time and use control groups to compare against external factors affecting all pages. Finally, there is a risk of potential traffic loss. Testing can temporarily reduce traffic if changes negatively impact rankings, creating business risk during the test period. Mitigate this by starting with lower traffic pages and gradually scale successful tests to more important sections of your site. To make the most of your SEO testing efforts, here are some best practices. 1. Test one variable at a time. Change only one element in each test to clearly identify which specific change impacts performance. 2. Use comparable pages. Select test pages with similar baseline metrics, content types, and competitive landscapes. 3. Document everything. Keep detailed records of all test parameters, changes made, and external factors during the test period. 4. Allow sufficient time. Give search engines enough time to process changes and establish new performance patterns. 5. Consider seasonality. Account for seasonal traffic fluctuations that might impact test results and skew conclusions. And 6. Build a testing culture. Establish ongoing testing as a core part of your SEO strategy, rather than a one-time activity. So, what are the key takeaways from our discussion? First, SEO A, B testing provides data-driven evidence for optimization decisions, rather than relying on assumptions. Second, multiple testing methods exist, each with advantages for different situations and site structures. Third, proper measurement requires tracking multiple metrics over sufficient time periods to account for search volatility. And fourth, continuous testing creates a cycle of improvement that keeps your SEO strategy evolving with search algorithms. So what are your next steps? Identify your first test opportunity, create a testing calendar, set up tracking infrastructure, and document your testing process. For additional resources, check out Google's Search Console Help Center, explore SEO testing tools and platforms, and look for case studies and success stories. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.